I guess we're ready to rock and roll. Okay, are we recording and everything good? Okay. I guess we're being recorded, but we're not on live TV, which is a disappointment, but it will be available, I guess, on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And later on.
And later on. It'll run as a rerun, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, probably. Okay, this is a continuation of the application of Toledo Development Group to obtain a special permit and a variance of applicable section of the zoning bylaws to construct a 9,100 square foot retail building with associated improvements on the premises of Amherst Road, Route 116, tax map number 44, all in the town of Sunderland, in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 40A. So this is the 12th continuance, and I think we're going to take a run at 20 before we get to the end, but our last hearing that we had was March 26th.
Could you speak so that everybody could hear you, please?
Wow. I know I'm hard of hearing, and I apologize for that, so I'll try to speak louder.
Thank you.
The microphones won't do us any good because they're not wired in. Let the record note that our full 5 voting members are here today, along with Amanda, who's an associate, a very able associate, I'd say, and that our ZBA attorney, Mr. Michael D'Ortenzio, is zooming in from his offices in Boston. Okay.
That's right. But it was great to be in Sunderland on Friday for town meeting and to see everyone there.
Yes, he was. If you went to town meeting, he was lurking in the background, keeping everybody in line. Okay.
Yes, Wendy and I were hiding in the back.
Yes. Okay. I put together a agenda that I'm going to try to stick to. And I sent a bunch of stuff out to the boards, sent some stuff to you guys. So the first item on our agenda is to ask RLA to detail the changes and that came to the design, the driveway design, as a result, I guess, of a meeting you had with DOT. Is that a
Yeah, I could be happy to go through that at your
Yeah,
convenience.
and I did, you did, I want to acknowledge that RLA did send me a letter and a marked up drawing showing what changes were made and all that. I didn't have time to forward it off to you guys.
So,
Rob, if you
if
want to.
if I could through the chair, so I'm Rob Levesque from our Levesque Associates. I have a copy of the letter that I provided for the board. These letters also include a markup we received from Mass DOT in the outline of what their request was. Here we go. I think I might have given all my, I think I might have given mine away, but I'll paraphrase the letter. Essentially, Mass DOT has a review process. They have an online portal as part of a project that has a curb cut on a Mass DOT jurisdictional roadway, which Amherst Road is. We're required to submit an access permit and also permit for any sort of utility connections, etc. So we started that process quite a while ago. There's basically a 25%, I think it's a 75%, and then PS&E, I think, is the final stage of that process. So at the 25% submission, response. We received the sketch that you see on the second page, or the second or third page of the letter. Those comments in red that were marked up in like a PDF format markup, those were directly from Mass DOT. They were uploaded to the portal with the response from their reviewer. So we have responded as you had suggested. We responded by adjusting the curb cut ever so slightly to allow for the left turns in per their suggestion. And if you note the markups in red on our plan, the plan is ours, the markups are Mass DOT's, and the letter describes the dates and the information in coordination with Mass DOT. We have since updated your site plans that you've been provided, and I think to the next agenda item, I don't want to steal the gentleman from Bowman's thunder, but they then updated their traffic analysis to reflect that turning movement, and they'd be happy to discuss that as well.
Well, before we get to the traffic study,
Sure.
I'd like to add some context to this. I didn't see, when did the, I guess you call it a 25% review?
Yes.
Was that an in-person meeting, or is that done in person, or is that virtual?
There's an online portal, so we submit our Mass DOT access permit request that gets uploaded to the portal. We have an online, password and identity for our dealings with Mass DOT. We upload that information, and they have a minimum of a 30-day review process for each stage. Each time they come back with comments, they have another, say, 30 days to review those comments.
So it's not an interactive thing. You submitted this in, you made a request, you want a 20, put it, and
So
you wait, and then they...
There's multiple interactions through the process. There are oftentimes email interactions, or oftentimes meetings or conversations we have with the district reviewer. In this particular case, my office staff may have had multiple conversations with the reviewer, and definitely have emails and the portal responses and comments through the portal. But Mass DOT prefers, and it's their standard operating procedure, to utilize the portal for the access permit process.
So that's their process.
That is their process, yep.
Just to, when did this happen? When
I
did,
think it's in the letter.
it might be,
October 31st.
That sounds right.
okay,
Yeah.
so the letter shows that the response from DOT came on October 31st,
That's correct.
2025. Okay. And just some context here, at least on the drawing that's shown here, is that they marked up is one of your drawings.
That's correct.
And I believe this was part of the Rev B, what we call the Rev B site.
It actually is Rev A, on the bottom right-hand corner of the drawing.
Well, that says Rev A, but the package, I mean, it,
So the
This
comments were,
became
so
Rev B.
for the record, the comments were made, in my eyes, it's a little small, I apologize. The comments were made on, yeah, it's hard to see, right?
who's got good eyesight?
Yeah, the comments were made on a drawing that had an original issuance date of June 17th, 2025, with a revision A dated, oh boy. I want to say it's 8/26/25.
I mean,
It's very small.
Yeah,
I
revision
believe
A of
it is
8/26.
Yeah, so August 26th, my birthday, as a matter of fact.
August, wow, what a birthday present. So August, so the drawing that's listed here is actually part of what is the Rev B site plan package?
I'm not
The one
sure.
that was,
So just to clarify, the layout plan that was marked up by Mass DOT was a revision A of that specific sheet.
oh, that specific sheet,
Yeah.
but it's, I mean, we have, we got 5 revisions of the whole site plan, and not every drawing was revised, so
Correct.
it doesn't necessarily track.
Correct, so
between-
each drawing has been updated with a revision date if the drawing
If
did not.
it got changed.
If the drawing, each drawing individually has a revision date and a revision letter based on if it got updated. So if we did, say, one revision, it would be revision A. If we did two revisions, it would be revision B specific to that sheet. So I don't think it's categorically revision B, if that answers your
And
question.
in fact, I think you're right. I think these are, because I look at the Rev B package and this sheet is it C5 or C6?
C5.
C5? Well,
Yeah.
C5 is Rev A.
Yeah, so it could be, so each sheet could have either one, two, maybe three, if there's nothing
Or
that's
none.
revised, or none.
Yeah, so,
Yep.
but let's just say that this one was part of, I mean, you'll see why this is important, or at least important in my eyes. So the sheet that they marked up was part of the Rev B site plans. It happens to be marked Rev A, that particular sheet, but it was part of that. You know, I can show you, it's here, it's the same one as they marked up.
I stand by my previous statement that each individual sheet, each time we submit, may or may not have received revisions, and the revisions on each sheet would be based on that sheet being revised or not. So if revision, let's say we submitted a third time, but after the first time we had a revision on sheet C5, but the third time we sent it in, we didn't have any revisions, it would still be revision A, so to speak. So I think they're
I don't mean to-
I'm not
the
sure.
semantics
I'm not
are-
sure what the semantics matter. Though. Sorry.
Well,
Or- but I do think you're confusing that.
only that, just to refresh everybody's memory, because we've been on a long process here. You know, in terms of proposals that you've been presenting, you know, we had the original one that came with the special permit application, and it showed the building in a certain orientation. After the meeting, you made some changes on parking and stuff, and then there was a Rev A version that came that rotated the building, cut down on parking, a whole bunch of changes. It was a major change. That was the Rev A documents, and I out of that Rev A package, which is dated 2/11/25. So it's part of the February 11 revision. It shows a driveway, and this one shows the driveway. Everything has changed. But this is actually the. It's still showing the orientation this way, but it had a driveway that had left and right access. And after that meeting, the board expressed some concern about that driveway being that way, and we requested that you turn it into a right turn in, right turn out only, and that is reflected in the Rev B package, even though the drawing is marked Rev A, and that's the one they marked up.
I'm not following you at all. I apologize. It's not clear. But
Well,
so
I'm
not sure if
I'm
there's
just
is
trying
there
to
a
put
question?
I'm just trying to, okay, so, just file that, and can we talk to the markups that were made, or the comments that were made by the DOT?
Sure, but
Yeah.
would you be willing to clarify what, do you have a question, or is there a statement related to these
Well,
revisions that you're
because
talking about?
I have I want to put a timeline on when this change was made, and because the board made a major objection to the driveways, and you made changes to the driveways to turn it into a right turn in, right turn out, in time. And this is back like, I don't know, this summer, sometime this summer. And you actually, the Rev B drawings do show right turn in, right turn out, as per our request. And those are the drawings, that was the driveway design that you turned in for this 25% review. So I'm just stating that the change was made per our request by you.
Yeah, correct.
And they marked it up and made their comments.
Correct.
And you changed the drawings, and you changed that driveway, and it became part of the Rev C drawings. No, Rev C still, yeah, you changed it, Rev C, which is part of the January 19th, 2026 package.
If it's helpful, perhaps to explain the process without the confusion of which revisions you're talking about. I think if you're trying to
Well,
make
it makes it.
well, but just if I could. So, if we're talking about, did we show the curb cut differently prior to, at the request of the ZBA, prior to the comments from Mass DOT? Did we show it a certain way, and did it change after our comments from Mass DOT?
Yes.
Yes, it did.
Yes.
So absolutely, if that's the point you're trying
Well,
to
I'm
make.
just trying to
Yeah.
ascertain that's just the timing of everything. So.
Yeah, so
You submitted our drawings the way you submitted the drawings per our request for the driveway design.
Correct.
And in October 31st, you got feedback back by the DOT that changed it.
That is correct.
And the drawings were changed, your drawings were changed to reflect the DOT comments,
Exactly.
and that was done in January 19th. That's part of the January 19th revision package.
Sounds accurate.
Okay.
Is that-
That's what I just want to get that timeline, because when the Rev C drawings were submitted to us,
Yeah.
you know, you made some changes, you got peer review comments, you made changes, a whole bunch of things, and, you know, the peer reviewer was going back and forth, you guys had 6 exchanges of letters back and forth.
We received 2
And,
letters, I
well, the
believe.
thing, in that revision, it was not made obvious that you changed the driveway, that you know, I understand it was DOT that requested the change, but it was, we didn't find out about the changed driveway with full access, left-right access in and out until the March 26th hearing, when the traffic study guy mentioned it.
So,
And there was no explanation about why.
No,
There was no explanation.
No. So I think the board was caught a little bit by surprise that something that we specifically asked for had been changed, and we didn't find out about it till March, when you said that the comments came in October of last year. So I'm just laying that out for the board, and, you know, it is what it is. I'm not, you know, I'm here to scold you or whatever, but, you know, when we get a lot of drawings and, you know, the revision, then it said, you know, mostly due to consultant. I know the consultant didn't ask for the driveway to be changed, so that.
So just to clarify, so I received, I believe, my office received 2 letters from Bucky Sparkle, not 6. We received 2. We provided 2 response letters. I
can show you there were 3.
I have a letter from Buck, maybe you did, but we have a letter from Bucky Sparkle dated March 25th, 2026. For the record, says, the applicant has responded to my January 23rd, 26 letter. All of my comments have been adequately addressed, and I've highlighted that. So that, I believe, has been all reviewed, including the plans that you're speaking of.
Did-
I do have a timeline of multiple changes that were made
Mr.
to
Levesque,
the curb
did
cuts.
Bucky Sparkle recommend that the driveway change to be full access left and right?
No, Mass DOT did.
I know they did, but,
Yes.
well, that's
And
the
Mass
point.
DOT, just to clarify, so Mass DOT is the jurisdictional authority. Mass DOT controls that roadway. Mass DOT has jurisdiction over all of curb cuts and all access onto that roadway.
Okay, and like I say, I'm not trying to stand here and scold you, but I think that when you revise the drawings per DOT, and I don't have a problem with that, you know, hey, if they told you you had to do
Sir,
it.
you have the information, and we're gonna have many more hearings according to you. You have plenty of time to review this information.
Well, why, when we were at the last hearing that you weren't at, and you didn't send a representative to address this thing, that we had to find out from the
I heard about
traffic
you
study
have some
guy.
concern about me not attending. By the way, I have, just so you know, we have a 20-person firm. We go to hundreds. Last year, I went to 268 public hearings. 268 in my office. There are, on occasion, nights where we have to triage and decide when we're going to go. If you cannot come up with reasonable additional information that needs to be presented, given what we've been doing, we are likely going to send a representative. There, frankly, is no new information here, even this evening, but we're happy to attend, we're happy to entertain your ideas, but you repeatedly say you're not scolding me. You know when my wife says to me, I'm not being a pain in the butt,
Your wife.
but, well, you can scold me all you want.
I'm not
but
scolding you.
But I can
I'm
tell you,
just saying
sir,
that
that we do this 4 nights a week all over Western Mass and Connecticut, and I will tell you respectfully,
Well,
we're
I
done-
don't
we're
think
done
your
playing
client
games.
would like you telling us that, you know, I mean, you're here to present a project to this board, and you're looking for our approval, looking for a special permit, and you're saying, well, I had to triage, I mean, I don't know, I mean, it boils down to a basic thing. You know, when, early on, when we asked specifically, there was a lot of discussion on that driveway issue, to turn it into a right hand in, right hand out.
Okay, let's-
Let me finish. And they made a change, that's fine. I don't have a problem that they made a change. I don't know why it took from October 31st to March 26th, next year, for us to find out that the driveway had been
Can I ask a
changed.
question? Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
So I'm not scolding you.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead,
Okay,
if you want.
I'm not scolding you, but can I ask a question? In my public records request, when I received information that said that your attorney agreed with us, and you buried that email, and that didn't get sent, okay? And that didn't get shared,
You
and
know,
then now
I-
we get an opinion 3 weeks later that there's an issue and they don't agree with us. So I'm just gonna say there's a
Mr.
lot of
Pill, I don't
nefarious
think we
things
should be
happening.
going into that, because I mean, that is not germane to the
And that's what
issue at
I'm
hand.
trying to do. What I'm suggesting is, maybe, because we've got the traffic engineer here, our traffic engineer, and you're going to do a peer review traffic engineer, maybe the best way to move forward is to have the peer reviewer.
I intend to. If you saw that, my agenda, that's exactly what I intend to do. But I
Good.
wanted to find out the reason for it.
But I'm happy to
and
share
why
my public
we weren't
records request to
told.
show people how things are
Let-
being taken
It-
care of
it-
here.
It happened. I mean, that's,
And, you know, I can even accept that.
so let's focus
But
on
but I
whether
do,
there are.
I do want to express some dismay that this board did not find out that that driveway had been changed from.
It's on our plan,
from-
sir.
Well, we get drawings and it says revised, and it did not point out that something that was pretty important to the board that we turned around and we asked you to make change to your plans to do had
All
been
of that
changed. That's
information,
all.
all that specific information has been provided in our plan set with the revisions and the revision note on the plan provided to your
Well,
peer
you know,
reviewer
all
who has
okay.
charged thousands of dollars for a peer review and based on the peer reviewer that you guys wanted to select. And your peer reviewer has come back and said, I have no further
The
comment.
peer
sir."
reviewer was doing stuff on the stormwater and drainage and on the reports and
And well-
that sort of
and well
issue.
beyond
He
that.
wasn't commenting on driveway changes.
Then let's have the traffic peer reviewer look at the
No,
driveway
we're
changes.
gonna go in the order that I have here. We'll get to that. That is thing.
sure we will.
But I do want to point out that I'm disappointed that something like that, it wasn't like they they moved the curb over 6 inches. They raised, there was a lot of changes that the consultant
All of the
requested.
information was
And
provided.
I saw those letters, and you responded to every one of them, and back and forth, but, I mean, this was a major thing, and, I wouldn't have had a problem if you came back and said, along with the Red Sea drawings, which showed the driveway change
You
from.
got an updated traffic study based on it.
Yeah, you did, and then
So what
we're
did you
gonna
think that
do
was
a
based
peer
on?
review, and suddenly the traffic study engineer says, oh, we got a revised traffic study. Well, wow, what's wrong with the one that we have? Says, well, we made a change based on DLT, and then, what was the change? Oh, the driveway change. That's the first time we heard about it, and that's what I'm complaining about. I mean, I know how things happen, but, that was at a time when we were gonna pull a trigger on a peer review. And you know what they were gonna review? They were gonna review obsolete site plans and obsolete traffic study, now we got, on the 24th, we got a new traffic study.
Now the peer reviewer can.
I know
review-
what the peer reviewer can do, Mr. Pill.
So why don't we move
You apparently
forward?
still don't have the check for the peer review that got sent here.
Okay, I will cut to the chase, because I was gonna bring that up later. We finally found the check. It got handled. We found it. It's been deposited. That will come up when we get to it on the agenda. So,
And the lesson I think we're getting here is maybe we're all human, and sometimes
okay, Mr. Pill, I mean, I don't
things could be done better, so
Yeah.
let's move forward.
I do want to move forward, but I just want to say, I'd like to say that there are little screw-ups, like, oh, no, that's not a big deal, but
Providing an
I'll
update.
tell you, when I found out at the last hearing that the driveway had been changed, it was like, what? When we weren't informed about it, we thought this was something that just happened. Then we find out it was going way back, so, okay, we're gonna move on. I would like some, regarding the marked up drawing here. Let me just, when you get comments back from DOT, and they use words like, it's recommended that you do this,
Yes.
versus like, it's required that you, I mean, is recommended sort of like, you must do it, or you may not do it?
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you recall when we originally came in with a different site plan, as you had referenced earlier?
Okay.
And do you remember our willingness to change the site plan based on input from your board?
Yeah.
Okay. We have from the beginning, and traditionally in our firm, work with regulators to try to give them what they need to hopefully feel comfortable with the project,
Okay.
feel
Well, I
comfortable
mean,
with the curb cut. So what I'm saying is, when we work with Mass DOT, just like we work with any municipality, we communicate with the municipality and we try to accommodate those changes. Mass DOT specifically has jurisdiction over this road.
I'm not questioning that, sir.
So Mass DOT asked for that change. There's no reason why we
No,
can't give that
here's-
change to Mass
here's the-
DOT. So let me
I'm
finish,
asking
let me finish if you
I'm
don't
asking a
mind, if
normal
you don't
question.
mind, if I could finish. We then consulted with our traffic engineer. Our traffic engineer said that there was no or de minimis change to the traffic analysis based on that change, and it was a change that Mass DOT wanted. So we then made that change. That's how that came about. So had you guys had specific requests, layout requests, landscaping, building orientation, like all of those things that we changed, my client spent tens of thousands of dollars making those changes. And he was happy to do it, or if you remember when he was here, he was happy to do it, and we're happy to accommodate anything that we can possibly accommodate. So that is your answer. So it was a recommendation.
I want to know, when the DOT says it is recommended,
Yes.
does that mean you can do it or you can't do it, or is it required?
You'd have to actually ask Mass DOT.
What kind of bull is that?
Really, come
I
on.
mean, seriously.
Why are we here? So I can fight with Stephen Kroll?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in for the moment, and I think tensions are high, which I can appreciate. I want to echo what my brother counsel said earlier, that I think if we keep our focus to what's next on the agenda, which is a presentation from Bowman regarding the revised traffic impact study, that might be a helpful way to keep us moving forward and making sure that we get all questions answered.
With all due respect, Counselor, I mean, I think we should finish the discussion on this, the change that was made. I mean, I can't believe I can't get a straight answer. I know if I go to my boss, or my boss recommends something, it sort of indicates, well, I can do it or I can't.
I'd be
If my
happy to
boss
give
says,
an
do
answer,
this.
Mr. Chairman,
Huh?
I'd have to be happy to give you an answer.
Okay,
So when it's recommended, if we don't do what's recommended, just like when you guys ask for something, we don't do what's recommended, we run the risk of not being issued a permit. That's all I know.
okay. So if DOT had such an egregious issue that, like, would they say, you must do this? Or, I mean, is there only like, we accept this, or we recommend something?
They're asking us to take the risk, and that's a risk we were not prepared to take. If
What
DOT
risk are
says,
they
no,
asking you
if
to
DOT says we recommend, and we follow the recommendation, we know we're on the path to the permit.
Is it-
If we say no, and the problem is, when the traffic engineer, as he's ready and willing to explain to you, and you can ask the peer reviewer, basically says, this is not a significant change, the issue then becomes, what on earth do we have to say to DOT to in effect thumb our nose at them and to say, no, we're not gonna make a change that our own traffic engineer says is not significantly consequential, because we were asked to do it, frankly, by lay people who had a preference. In other words, this is a world where expertise with traffic prevails. And that's why, for example, we were happy to pay you for a peer review traffic engineer, because traffic it's even a specialty within civil engineering, which is a specialty
Okay, I understand
within
that, sir.
engineering. In other words, Mass DOT says, we recommend you do this. We have no good reason, no valid reason not to. The traffic engineer doesn't indicate there's any problem. Then, by golly, we're gonna do it to keep ourselves on the path to the permit. And it sounds like you've got two lawyers here, you know, who are he's your zealous advocate, I'm their zealous, and by God, we actually agree on something. Let's move forward, and this is something you can raise and see if the peer review engineer, if your peer review engineer has a problem with that change, then by golly, we get the two engineers together and see what they can work out. Please.
No, I just, like I'm saying, I'm just trying to understand, you know, why it was done. And when you say you're asking us to take a risk, they're asking, the risk being that they may deny your approval.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I'm glad I understand that, but like I say, I just wanted to point out that the time lapse of not being informed about that change, you know, it is what it is, but I just want to go on record that I was disappointed that it wasn't conveyed back to the board, you know, sooner than March 24th, when, you know, I understand why you did and what you did it for, but I just want to make that point. Let's see, does the board have any more questions about the changes that were requested by the DOT? Or,
Well, I have a comment. I find it hard to believe Mass DOT would want a left-hand turn out onto 116. Did they do site visits?
well,
Because
this
that
is
whole
part-
area is
I mean,
chaotic.
I mean, this, you know, jurisdiction over this kind of stuff belongs with DOT. So, you know, one of the questions I had is like, now, you know, essentially, you've got sort of a cross intersection. It's almost across from the Dunkin' Donuts on the other side. So I'm surprised, when the DOT made this recommendation, did they recommend design changes to 116 to add like left turn lanes?
No, so to clarify, the actual location of the curb cut, if you recall from previous iterations, the curb cut was actually farther up the road and was not directly across, and originally as we had proposed it, not directly across from the Dunkin' Donuts access. They actually dictated that that be across from the access, and I believe in their first, the first round of comments, and then these comments, obviously. So, so long story short, that's where they wanted the curb cut. That's how they wanted the curb cut. That's how they wanted our entrance. And just for everybody's understanding, Mass DOT is run by traffic engineers, transportation engineers, obviously, as you can imagine. So, which works for the, which not only do they review permits, but they also write the rules and regulations for transportation in the state of Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So perhaps Bowman can speak more to that, but generally speaking, they are not only the permit granting authority, but they write the book and the rules.
And I understand that, it's just,
If I may just interject. I cannot speak for Mass DOT, but there are reasons why, from a traffic perspective, they may want to consolidate driveways. And so if that was something that they requested, there are reasons that I can explain in my professional opinion why that would be advantageous and beneficial. And I know we're skipping ahead to the traffic, but I just wanted to say that I'm happy to talk more about it.
well, and I will just make a comment, because the town has had a lot of experience with DOT and that stretch of highway. And our experiences with DOT have not been good. I mean, going back to the 70s when we had fatalities, we had to beg them to put up a traffic light. We at our own costs had to put the cutouts for driveway, or for bus stops. I really do question DOT's concern about, mindset about safety.
That's why
I think they're looking at it strictly engineering wise, and I understand that, but I'll make a statement that I think this proposal with left in, left out versus right in, right out before is less safe. I think there's, but, I'm sort of barking at DOT and not you. And
So I think it's good that you have your peer reviewer getting on board, and hopefully you can pose those questions to them. And the beautiful thing about peer reviews is these guys all follow the same rules. They all follow the same safety rules, the same manuals. They also all work with Mass DOT. So these guys have the same general training, very sophisticated traffic training. So I look forward to, honestly, I look forward to them corroborating each other's information.
if that's the way it shakes out, that's fine. I
have one question for the traffic for Bowman.
We're going to be getting to the.
I just want clarification on one of the notes on the driveway. There's a recommended configuring Gore Island as a parallel oval. Are those striped lines?
So the Gore Island is, if you think of you ever see the concrete, it's like a ribbed concrete, that's what it is. So it's mountable, you can traverse over it, but it's intended to direct traffic into each of the lanes of the curb cut.
It's like a rumble strip.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Similar,
I got it,
yeah.
I have one more question too. On their DOT notes, can you explain what a stop control is?
What a stop control is?
It's one of the comments that's on their.
It's a note.
Sure, I'd have to, yeah.
It says, this is not a major driveway and not likely to require stop control.
They're basically saying you don't need a stop sign and bar.
But it would still function as stop control in practice. They're just saying that you don't actually have to put a sign down there with a stop.
Oftentimes
Still need a stop
municipalities,
sign.
oftentimes municipalities want to see that anyway, but yeah, they're saying you don't, it doesn't necessarily warrant it, I guess is what they're saying.
Okay, but you still need a stop sign, just not on the ground.
It's
The
stop control.
potential.
So both, right? Essentially.
So originally, stop control as proposed had a stop sign and the bar.
Mhm.
Their comment is indicating that they didn't believe that the traffic volumes were high enough to warrant that level of infrastructure where you put a sign up, you have a bar,
Mhm.
that, like any other driveway on a strip mall or
Yeah.
wherever, you don't have a stop sign there. It's just, it's inferred that you need to stop at a driveway to enter.
So is a bar just a raised
Just-
painted
no.
line? You got a painted line, a
Flush.
stop line?
Flush
And a
painted.
bar is, it's a little bit of a bump.
No, stop bar is a painted line.
It's a
period.
painted line.
So there's no
And a
stop line?
sign is the
That is-
stop sign.
Yeah, there's
It
no
doesn't
stop
ch-
sign or stoplight you can pull right out from the parking lot.
It doesn't change the fact that
No.
there's still stop control in the sense of vehicles do not have free movement into the highway. It's just DOT's level of infrastructure required there is saying the movements are not significant enough to warrant putting up a sign. Just like a driveway for someone's, someone's personal driveway doesn't have a stop sign on it, but you still have to stop before you enter the road.
Let me just.
So, sorry, just to clarify, on these, the plans that you edited after DOT, you kept the stop bar and sign on Clark Mountain Road, but not on 116.
Correct, because that's not their jurisdiction. Yeah.
What did you say?
Just trying to.
He's saying that DOT doesn't have jurisdiction over Clark Mountain Road, so you can keep the stop sign there. Sorry, I didn't assume.
Well, they do where Clark Mountain Road meets Route 116, right? I mean, they don't, do they get involved there? We're talking about the driveway onto Clark Mountain Road.
We're
right?
talking, this comment specifically is about the driveway.
Okay,
correct?
thank you,
Yes.
thank you, yeah.
I was just comparing the two driveways and the stop control, but that's all.
I'm just trying to. Okay. I've got that.
And folks, I'm sorry, folks can still, coming from the center of Sunderland, take a left into this driveway, even though the island seems to kinda banana over a little bit.
Let's look at the new ones. No, it's parallel.
Okay.
There's no.
Okay, I think we flogged this to death enough. Let's move on to the next agenda item. This is, you've got a revised traffic impact study. Could
Correct.
you speak to that, sir?
Sure. So last time I spoke to the original traffic impact study, I believe it was June of last year. We had a lot of, I think, productive discussion about the results that were in the study. I went through in full detail the components of the study and the revised. So I'm happy to retread, previous presentation material, or if it would be to your preference, I can focus on what has changed, perhaps, or if you'd like me to give a kind of base level from the beginning review, I'm happy to do that too.
I don't think we need that, but I do have some specific questions now.
Sure.
Rob, if I understand you correctly, the exit driveway onto 116 from your retail store is now not directly opposite of the Dunkin' Donuts driveway?
It is.
Well, it is directly opposite.
Yes, sir. That was, to clarify, that was
Okay.
a request of Mass DOT.
Okay.
And that is included in the traffic study, so the revised
No, that's
traffic
what I was gonna-
analysis
yeah.
includes, basically, we studied it at one intersection that
Mhm.
has the Dunkin' Donuts driveway on one side and the proposed driveway on the other side. So that is part of the new traffic study. The updates So just top line
Sure.
updates that have happened since the last time. Minor update, Mass DOT has released newer, one newer year's worth of crash collision data. And so we've incorporated the latest data just to be up to date on that. It did not change the outcome of the evaluation of the crash data for the corridor, but we recalculated the average crash rates for the corridor and for the intersections along the corridor. So that was one update. Obviously, the primary update to the traffic study what prompted the update was the change to the driveway, the proposed driveway. And for that, we needed to consider.
Could I just, you said that you got new state data on accidents. So you updated to the newest data.
Correct.
Is there newer data on, traffic in and out? Overall, for like, traffic study shows so much stuff coming in from so much traffic coming in from the center of town, some coming up from Amherst.
In terms of count data?
Is there new
using
data, and was that incorporated in your?
So we're using the count data that was collected for the original study.
Okay.
We didn't go back out and collect new data. MassDOT requires that the data that you collect it's not a hard requirement, but they like to see it be less than 3 years old, and so we're within the window
Still within that window.
of what would be applicable for a traffic study. So we did not collect new count data. However, you did remind me, we did, just for due diligence, update the trip generation for the site, which essentially a new manual has come out since the last time. So they get updated almost every year, and that's the manual that we use to project what the new
Volume.
Trips of traffic.
Cars
from a
in, cars
proposed-
out from this.
Correct. This was just a matter of, again, due diligence. The numbers didn't change, we just used the latest manual and.
ITE 12th edition, right?
Correct.
Institute of Transportation Engineers.
Yes.
So the
Manual
numbers
12th
didn't
edition.
change.
It did not change the numbers that go in and out of the site. I believe there was also a question back in June as to the selected type of use that we were using. It comes up as, I believe the naming is variety store, and there was some understandable confusion as to what is that representative? We went back and checked the manual. So within the manual, every type of use has a write-up description of the type of data that was collected to inform these projections. And in the description, it specifically states dollar stores are primarily what they're referring to when they reference variety store. And that's the only use that is in the manual that does mention dollar stores. So this would be, we were able to confirm that this is in fact representative of dollar stores. And so with all of that basis, what we needed to do to update the traffic study was to take the trips that were generated, which again haven't changed, and redistribute them to the proposed driveway to allow lefts coming out, and then rerun the traffic analysis with those left turns in order to see if there would be any significant delays as a result. And so the delays that would be experienced at the driveway are shown in table 5 on page 22. And you can see we've looked at each intersection, Amherst Road at Clark Mountain Road and Clark Mountain Road at proposed driveway. And then
Do you mean figure 5?
table 5 on page 22.
Figure 5. Sorry, I had the only copy here, but on page 22. Okay.
And so this table summarizes all of the traffic analysis that was developed. So we start out with the existing condition in the first set of columns, the 2032 no-build condition, so this is if nothing happens, and traffic just continues to grow, which, by the way, we use growth rates from the Regional Planning Authority to help us inform, what projected growth could be over those next 7 years. And then we take that and we add the project trips to it, and that gives you 2032 build condition. So what we're really considering here is not just what is traffic with the project today, it's what would be traffic 7 years from now if traffic continues to grow along 116. And so the levels of service that are summarized by movement, you can see the grades. They can vary from A to F, which is fairly self-explanatory, A being the best, F being the worst.
Levels of service, okay.
Correct. Now, the grades are helpful to give a frame of reference. You think F is bad, A is good. What actually is a better representation in terms of what the experience is to look at the delay. And that's how many seconds a person would be waiting to get out onto the roadway. So the longer they have to wait, the worse the level of service goes. And so you can see, just pulling out an example here. So the proposed site driveway at Sunderland Plaza driveway. So this is the driveway across from the Dunkin' Donuts. We have AM and PM peak periods that we looked at. So those are the peak hours, and then eastbound and westbound direction. So the westbound direction is the proposed driveway. So you can see that that is not applicable for 2025 and for 2032. And then you go to 2032 build all the way on the right, and that tells you what the delay would be for those vehicles exiting, including the left turns. And so the worst that the traffic model projects would be in the evening, an average of 21.7 seconds of delay. So less than half a minute of delay. And that equates to what's called a level of service C, which is typical average delay. This is an experience that many people are used to when you're trying to exit a driveway. You may have 1-2 vehicles in front of you, but you're going to get out there in a reasonable amount of time. Once you're up to a minute plus of delay, now you're considering, this is egregiously long. You get a grade more akin to an E or an F at that point. And so that was, in terms of operations, a determination that the addition of the left turn out was not generating undue delay to those vehicles that would create kind of additional congestion and potential concern. Now, safety is a separate piece. This is just operations.
And this is reflected in the 2032 no build, the 32 build. Because in the 25 existing, that driveway doesn't exist.
Correct. In the 2032 no build, it also does not exist. So you can see those movements all say N/A for not applicable. And you only can see that driveway in the 2032 build condition. The delay goes up compared to what it was before. I don't have the old report in front of me, but it is higher just simply because there is now a left turn coming out of it. But it is not out of a realm of reason for what you would expect on a commercial driveway like this on a state highway, which likely, I cannot speak for MassDOT, but they would look at that result and kind of infer that the restrictions, and this is getting to the concern about both the location and the allowance for left turns. Again, I cannot speak for MassDOT, but the reason why, from a traffic and engineering standpoint, why you may wish to consolidate those movements is that if there isn't a left turn allowed, but drivers see that they reasonably could make the left turn, that in of itself can create a safety issue. Second, the drivers who want to make the left turn, they don't disappear, they go somewhere else. And so they're going to make a left turn somewhere else, and that other movement now, might face, different safety considerations, whether it's, they need to make a U-turn or, there's additional delay associated with that. And so unless it is creating a safety concern, generally looking at a full access where it's feasible can avoid some of those confusing driver behaviors that can actually create more confusion and uncertainty. And so that's from a traffic engineering standpoint, one perspective as to why you may want to consider consolidating like that. But I do understand from the perspective of the board that you're adding more conflicts to one point, and that is a valid concern, and that's what the balance here is if you add another movement where there wasn't one previously, that's a new conflict that previously wasn't there. However, the balance and the pros and cons are that if it isn't allowed, but people see it as a viable movement for them, that can happen then illegally with non-compliance, which creates potentially worse safety implications because it's unexpected. And so I think there can be a challenge when it comes to traffic engineering to make something safe, but also make it practical and usable. The same thing, I do a lot of traffic engineering and safety studies specifically. This comes up a lot with speed limits. For example, setting a speed limit, if it's just unreasonably low in an area, people go higher than the speed limit, and it becomes ineffective. And so there is an element to traffic engineering where we have to understand that people will do what they can reasonably do, and we need to try to design around it, but ultimately we want it to be as safe as possible.
A question, did you consider, or is it worth considering, that with this intersection the way it is now, that people may come out of that Dunkin' Donuts driveway, and it services a restaurant, a laundry, there's a lot of other things that come out that driveway, that they may go straight across? There's nothing in that design that would prevent that.
That's true. They could go straight across if they chose to.
Is it worthy of considering in your analysis of it? And vice versa, coming out of the retail thing saying, I want a coffee, and they're gonna go straight across?
Right, so you make a good point. We haven't included in our projection here a through movement. Because if there is a demand for it, we'd expect it to be low, but it could happen. You're absolutely right, it could happen. And I think, short of putting a median down the middle of the highway, what you're describing is an issue that does come up quite a bit. And I think in practice, I know if I was driving out of that Dunkin' Donuts and I wanted to go to Dollar General, unless it was a really quiet day, I would probably turn right and make a left onto Clark Mountain
That's
Road.
what a sane driver would do.
Yeah.
It's...
Well, and you're right, traffic engineers, we have to think about everyone, right?
Sure.
So you make a fair point, and that's something that could happen. I think that the nature of traffic on Route 116 would hopefully discourage that from happening, but we can't control it, frankly, without a driveway placed in a different location. And I guess if we played that out and thought about the the alternative here, if someone wants to get from Dunkin' Donuts to Dollar General, that where the driveway is located won't change the fact that they want to get from point A to point B.
You can just
And so,
turn right from Dollar General and go to the signal and turn left at the signal.
Well,
Or the other way, you
Mr.
come out
Pelham,
at the
hey,
signal and turn left.
Let the expert do the,
and so, right, and so if the driveways weren't across from each other, you would have a car potentially pull out
Yeah.
and then sit in the middle of the
I
road and then
don't-
turn right. So it's never going to be a good movement
but
for
how
anyone.
does a traffic, how do you traffic study a situation like that? And keeping in mind, one of the things I want to get to is that, how does a traffic study engineer evaluate and quantify safety?
Hmm.
I mean, I know you got crash data, and it says how many crashes, when it happened, if it was,
Yeah,
property damage, was it major, was there a fatality?
sure.
And you come up with percentages like, hey, you have, such and such a percentage. Where does that equate to safety? And what are the trip points where something becomes unsafe?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the first thing you mentioned, the crash analysis that we did. And so the crash analysis looks at the history of crashes along this stretch of 116. The reason that we do that is we want to understand if there's an underlying issue that would be exacerbated by the proposed project. And so is the proposed project adding trips to a movement that currently is experiencing a higher than normal rate of crashes? So we're trying to develop a baseline of, are there existing issues that we need to be aware of? That result, we found that the crash rates are lower than the state and district averages on this road. So purely from a quantitative standpoint, we didn't have any of those red flags from the data. Now, the driving experience is a separate thing, and a driver may see or feel things that feel unsafe to them. So we don't just stop the data. We go out there, we observe in the field, we see the peak hours of operations, we see what's happening, and try to understand, are there existing issues out there today? There is congestion out there today, as anyone will see. We see backups on average around a couple hundred feet from the apartment signal just to the north, and can get as long as 400 feet. So that is a point of friction on this corridor that we're aware of. Now, to your second question, what is the tipping point? How do we measure impacts to safety? And the real answer is that you really can't measure safety, but what you can do is you can follow engineering principles and guidelines. And that's where the state dictates, not only on their jurisdiction, but just globally, the best practices for traffic engineering, and they adopt the federal best practices for the state. So they're, the best practices in traffic engineering are from top down, from federal to state to local. And so from a safety perspective, when we're evaluating the safety of a proposed driveway, there are a couple things that we need to consider. If it's a stop control, you need to have clear sight lines so that you can see and judge gaps in traffic. So we went out and we measured, we put cones out on the roadway, and we physically walk it with a measuring wheel to get a length of sight distance for a driver, both on 116 so that they can see people coming out, and also for a driver seated in a car at about 3 feet high, what their sight line is from the driveway looking out in both directions. And so that evaluation is summarized in the report. There's a table which shows table 7, intersection sight distance evaluation. And so that is really, from a traffic impact study, I would say one of the main safety evaluations for stop control.
If I recollect, I mean, there are really no sight line issues with this intersection.
Correct, right.
But I would say, if you're coming out of Dunkin' Donuts and you want to take a right or left out of there, you've got good line of sight, but right not too far away from that is a bus stop, where a bus is going to be pulled over, and when you know, during the rush hour times, the buses, every 10 minutes, every 15 minutes, buses are coming in. Pedestrians are not paying attention. I mean, there's only one marked crosswalk, which is down at the traffic light, and your line of sight is kind of impeded by a bus a little bit. I don't, I'm an engineer at trade. My engineering discipline was in electronic computer engineering, and I don't claim to be a civil engineer and a traffic engineer. I respect the type of analysis that you have here, and when you do a traffic study, it's just gathering a lot of data. This is kind of oversimplifying it, but you gather a lot of data and then you analyze it. And, it comes up with the things that you're talking about. But can a traffic study assess safety? Or make recommendations to it? Because I look at, there is an appendix. You have one appendix, which is actually a one-sheet thing. It says crash summary data, and you list the type of, all the accidents, and they come up with, and it shows a crash rate, and it comes up with a score, and it compares it with state average, compares it with that. The changes that have been made to this driveway have. I don't think you can't argue that driveway is less safe than it was before DOT made their changes. And how do you answer that question? I mean, because that's what the board is wrestling with.
Yeah.
When we look at traffic flow and safety on a problematic stretch of highway, that we have a lot of history. And I know it's not terribly germane, but and you probably wouldn't even know that there was a pedestrian that got hit a couple months ago, and I mean the circumstances were it's like 6 o'clock in the morning, it was dark, and the guy thought he hit a deer, but still, this is a very problematic property, or very intersection, and the whole corridor, which I would say goes from Old Amherst Road to the 7 O's. And it's, I don't know if a traffic study can answer that question.
Well,
I don't know if
engineering design is really what governs safe design. And so, so I'll just say for context, I do a lot of safety studies. I look at a lot of crash data, and especially serious injury and fatality crashes I take very seriously. It's one of the toughest parts of the job to look at kind of what's happened in the past and try to fix it. In terms of measuring safety, the assessment and the data, you're right to point out that is not speaking to the driveway. That is speaking to the corridor and just trying to understand, are there issues along the corridor that are elevated to a point where we need to be aware of them? And so that didn't happen there. The design, engineering design, not analysis, is intended, and the standards that DOT applies is intended to provide the safest design possible, and that's what they look at when they're developing these, or reviewing these plans. Now, you mentioned in your opinion that you believe that the full access driveway is less safe than the right in, right out. And I'm not going to argue that point because I think there's room to have opinions on these things. But I do think that there are other perspectives, and I think that DOT's review would point to where, and that I mentioned earlier, where restricting movements that should reasonably work, not be excessively delayed, can in fact create more issues in of itself. And so these are the types of considerations that traffic engineers look at, because we're one of the few engineering disciplines that deals with human behavior, which can be very unpredictable. And so, this is an active point of discussion. I think that can be, further looked at. But I think that there are engineering principles and engineering perspectives that actually could point to and would point to a consolidated set of movements in one point, even across from the other Dunkin' Donuts driveway, as being actually preferable. It really depends on the setting, and it depends on the amount of volume that's occurring, and looking at the volumes that are projected. As DOT noted in one of their comments, they didn't consider it a major driveway. If it was what they considered a major driveway, and DOT is looking at mega developments on their highways,
Sure,
right?
sure.
And so those will require a different set of considerations, where you may need to be more restrictive. And so that is, again, my professional opinion. Obviously, there's a peer reviewer coming on, and I would look forward to working with them.
Can I ask a question?
Any questions on the board?
How do you project if people are gonna make a left turn or a right turn to compare that to safety data and traffic flow and that kind of stuff?
The projections that we develop, we primarily use existing traffic flows. And so we expect that people who are going to the new development will generally follow the patterns that are happening today. So if most of the traffic is coming from one direction in the morning and one direction in the evening, then most of the traffic going to the site will kind of follow those same balances. Just
Yeah.
very generally speaking.
I
It's
think
more detailed than
my
that.
question is that the data that you can quantify, you can count, is, a car going in that direction. So but if I go to Dollar General, do I go home or do I go somewhere else? How does that get are you just going with the traffic flow that time is going in this way, and that's how, so does it change with left and right? That's what I'm kind of.
Yeah, so there are layers to this. So what you just described is actually what we refer to in the study as a pass-by trip.
Mhm.
And so if you were heading along Route 16 and if Dollar General or if a store wasn't there, you would just continue straight.
Mhm.
But because it's there now, you're going to go off, make a right, and come out and then continue going on straight. And so there is a specific population of the trips that were projected in total,
Mhm.
which we would expect to be pass-by trips. So those are trips that are already on Route 16, and they
Just keep going.
yeah, and so those we can say exactly, based on the flows that are on Route 16 now, we know that population of traffic. Now then there's the trips that are newly generated,
Mhm.
and those we put onto the network proportional to how the volumes are divided today. So we just kind of follow the same proportions. So
Okay, so you take out the pass-bys and then the rest is just the same.
in terms of how we distribute it,
Yeah.
yes. The pass-by trips still are in our traffic model. They
Yeah.
don't disappear. We don't evaporate traffic.
Yeah.
All of the traffic that's projected to be generated is put into the network.
Yeah.
So that's just to clarify that, because when
Yeah, no, I was just trying to figure out how do you say that like traffic is gonna increase in this direction, but not this direction based off of the left and right turn? Like, how do you project if they're going to the left or the right to quantify that?
Yeah, so that's based on the receiving, what we call the receiving volume. So if you're making a left out of the driveway, you're heading south.
Mm-hmm.
And so we look at the we look at the traffic that ends up on southbound 116. And that level of volume relative to the northbound is our proportional split, basically.
Okay.
And it varies by time of day.
Yeah.
So we're sending the traffic where most of the traffic is already going,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Thank you.
I got another question for you. On the crashed summary, which is, boils down to one page, and it looks, by the numbers, I look at that, wow, it's gonna be pretty safe. You a couple times in this report, you project, in 30, projected growth or projected changes in 2030, what it's gonna look like with all sorts of numbers. Do you have any projected crash analysis as a result of this driveway change?
No, there's no projected crash analysis per se. That wouldn't be standard for a Mass DOT based traffic study. It's not to say there aren't ways that can be done. However, yeah, it's not part of this study. The one sheet that you refer to, that's a standard evaluation that the state is used to seeing. We do it in every impact study, but we also produce those for studies that we generate for the state themselves. The state conducts road safety audits all the time, and that's the same kind of summary that we would do for a road safety audit.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, but the type of analysis that you do on in a traffic study like this is sort of a data crunch, and it's not really good at assessing something like safety.
Well, it starts as a data crunch. I mean, we're engineers, we need data. But we do need to add another layer of understanding beyond the data itself, and that's where the field visit comes in. And that's also where the just engineering principles for design come in. And so part of what we do for a traffic impact study is to review the site plan. And so, we receive the site plan from the proponent, and we review it as part of our assessment to see if there are any aspects of it that we feel, wouldn't meet standards or may become problematic, and we'll usually work those out as part of the design development or as part of this process here. But that the site plan review is part of that. And so, in terms of assessing safety, there isn't a finite analysis that we can do, but safety is underlying in all of design. That's really something that we have
Can
to
I
do.
ask a question just to clarify for the chair? Because isn't the whole intent of the traffic analysis to understand the adequacy of the surrounding roadways, the adequacy of the curb cuts based on standard traffic safety and standard, for example, stopping sight distance, intersecting sight distance? Isn't that a safety check? Isn't that an adequacy check of the roadway, of the curb cuts? Isn't the entirety of the traffic report not only volumes and projected volumes and adequacy of existing infrastructure, but also adequacy related to safety? Is that basically what you're saying?
Yeah, and maybe I didn't explain it as clearly as I could, but that's what I was getting at when I was saying it's based on engineering principles. So when we're reviewing a site, when we're reviewing a site plan, when we're reviewing existing roadway, we're doing it in the context of all that crash data to understand patterns, but we're also checking design standard and understanding, are the designs meeting standard? And standards are there for safety. So that's where safety comes in. I'm just
What
saying
are
the
the
same
standards
thing.
for safety? It's not a number on crash test data or,
Oh, it is. So there's a what? And a standard for this area in Mass DOT, right? You're below the average, right? There's also stopping sight distance requirements. You're over the stopping sight distance requirements. So there are benchmarks for sure.
Yeah, there's two quantifiable benchmarks that Rob was just mentioning. So there's the average crash rate, which we calculate.
Yep.
So that's speaking to the existing corridor
Mhm.
to understand where we are from 116 relative to a statewide and local average. And then the second metric was the site distance, which I mentioned to go out and physically measure.
Sure.
And so the site distance at federal and state levels have design guidelines for how long of a site distance you need to have at a minimum to be safe. And that's based on the speeds of the roadway, which we also collect. So you have 85th percentile speed that you use for that measurement. And so the 85th percentile speed of 116 was 43 miles per hour, which equates to a stopping sight distance of 340 feet. So you need a minimum of 340 feet if you're going that fast
for some of the,
to be able to stop and not hit someone that jumps out in front of you. Now, and that 340 number is prescribed, 340 feet is prescribed in engineering design manuals that start again at the US DOT level and get adopted by the state. And so we look at those, compare them to what we measure to make sure that there aren't any deficiencies. So that's a very quantifiable measure of safety that we use specifically for the site driveway.
And what are we providing?
On 116, we show it as 800 plus feet. It goes beyond that. It just, at a certain point, we stop walking with the wheel because it's too far. So there, as you're aware, there weren't sightline issues on 116. So that was part of the assessment that we needed to do.
Mr. Chairman, I think it would be helpful when you get your peer reviewer on board to pose the question related to safety, because I think they would also have their own opinion about how these analyses are done, how safety is incorporated not only into the regulations, the benchmarks that they have to meet, and all of the other requirements. So, you know, I'd use anecdotal.
I understand the thought of your question, but I think the peer reviewer is gonna say, yeah, it meets state standards. I mean,
You're right, and that's why we rely on traffic people to do that.
What?
That's why we're relying on traffic professionals.
Well, again, just like I asked Mike here, does this traffic study answer the safety question? Because that's the question that's before us. And so if I'm going to ask, and I do intend to ask the peer reviewer to comment on safety,
Yeah.
but I suspect, since the peer reviewer that we chose does traffic studies, they would give me the same answer. Yeah, it meets all the state requirements. It just, and it doesn't answer, is it?
So are you saying if we get a peer review that agrees with us, that you're going to defy logic and not agree with it?
This board is being asked, is one of the criteria, traffic flow and safety. And I see this as a real big issue.
So you're saying that you think it's an issue irregardless of any peer review that you get?
I'm not gonna say that. I mean,
Sounds like
maybe
that's
the
what
peer
you're saying.
reviewer will surprise me. But I think the peer reviewer is gonna be a disciplined traffic engineering specialist that will look at this pretty much the same way. And
Thank you. I just wanted to have that on the record. Thank you. I'm good.
And, in the end, neither one of them will be able to answer the safety question for us.
I disagree.
I can answer it based on an actual example of precisely what you're talking about, because I worked with the developer at the Home Depot in Hadley at the corner of Route 9 and Maple Street. I was at the Hadley Planning Board. The homeowners north on Maple Street went through the roof. People are gonna be coming out of that driveway and they're turning left and coming down our street, Maple Street. You need to make that a right turn only exit
I'm very
so they
familiar
go
with
to
that.
Route 9, right? Well,
How many people have you witnessed take a left there?
including me, zillions of them.
Bad
That's
boy.
what I'm talking, and so what we're saying is, had you, if,
So you
what I'm
suggest that Home
suggesting,
Depot should have had, let it go,
I'm
be
saying
full
that
left?
Home Depot should have, and because Maple Street was not Route 9, it would have been much better had they had Mass DOT to say, no, just have a properly designed intersection so people can, it's designed to go either way. I turn left to go north on Maple Street, and you're right, at least a significant percentage of the people do just that, and while not as often coming out
I've
of
witnessed several
Whole Foods.
myself. I go to that Home Depot frequently.
Yeah, in other words,
And I'm not a saint, but I've never taken a left there. And I'll tell you, the design of that turn is very radical. You really gotta work to take a left.
but people do it,
Oh,
in other words, all I'm
And I've
saying
seen the
is,
cops pinch them too.
the Hadley
Not
Planning
very
Board,
often.
God bless them, they listen to their friends and neighbors instead of the traffic engineers, and I think it would have been much better had they listened to the traffic engineers. These people have been doing this, we've had motor vehicles for 100 years now. There's a lot of, and as he just said earlier, unlike other fields of engineering, it's based on human behavior, and it tries to accommodate. Isn't that what you're trying to do, maximize safety?
Well, I appreciate, I'm an engineer, and I can appreciate the task that you're trying to do here. But sometimes there's some stuff you just can't quantify, or, and then you're gonna use the kind of reasoning that you use. But, it's very subjective. It's like, well, it's less safe, but is it unsafe? Oh, no, it's not that bad. It's like, the board has to make, has to make that decision. And so I would like experts to, tell me the answer to that question. And I know you're only giving me your best engineering analysis, but, this is not a good vehicle it tells a lot of stuff, a lot of useful stuff, but it's really not very good at answering the safety question. And I quite frankly, I think the peer reviewer will have probably the same issue. I do intend, it is part of the proposal to the peer reviewer to comment on safety.
Great.
And
we welcome it.
he's gonna say, oh, by all metrics, it's,
And on top of all of this, Mass DOT will issue an access permit. That has nothing to do with the board.
well, and like I say, I'll make my comments on the DOT. I don't think they give much about the safety of that stretch of highway. And that's not on you.
No, I understand. So and I apologize for interrupting, but I do know that there was some other agenda items, and I know that you have a hard stop at 9 typically, so I just.
Well, I'm hoping that
Oh, my.
do you have a hard stop?
I have a family.
I
I'd like to see him every once in a
that's
while.
angry and waiting for me, and probably gonna strangle me when I get home too.
I've got one of those too. She asked, and I told her how you're very good at stopping at 9 o'clock, and she was glad to hear that.
Well,
She appreciates it.
okay.
And one quick, just a quick question, just to clarify for me. So when, I'm looking at the original traffic report. And maybe I'm not seeing it, but, we have eastbound, westbound, and left and right turns. Has anything been put in there for southbound traffic delays turning into the newly proposed driveway?
Yeah, we have that. That's actually in the appendix. We have more There's only so many tables we put in the report.
Okay,
So there's more
Which
tables.
appendix
in the
are you
appendix.
referring to?
This is Appendix I. And so that has a larger table.
Which table, one to identify?
So Appendix I.
Appendix I.
There's only 4 tables, so if you go to the first table, weekday morning capacity analysis summary, queue summary, and then there's weekday evening.
okay.
And so you were asking about the,
Southbound left turn into the proposed driveway. Southbound off of 116, turning into the proposed driveway.
yeah, let me check that.
Because I noticed that at the proposed site driveway, the delays went up 50% in the morning and almost 75% in the afternoon.
Yeah, they did go up. I didn't have the old report in front of me, so I wasn't able to reference it specifically, but
Yeah.
they would go up because of the additional traffic that we're taking off of Clark Mountain Road and putting into the
Those
driveway.
numbers didn't change.
Sorry, which one?
That data didn't change. It's still the same trips on Clark Mountain Road. So this seems like there's an increase in traffic overall that's gonna go in because the numbers
Yeah.
are exactly the same for Clark Mountain Road as proposed site driveway, and they're within 1/10 of the Amherst Road and Clark Mountain Road. So the only numbers that went up 50 and 75% were in relation to the left turn that was added to 116.
Okay,
All the
well,
other data is almost exactly the same.
well, I'll take your word for it. I don't have the study in front of me. Maybe if I could take a look at it, I can help,
Sure.
or if you have,
Well, I can show it to you. You wanna look at it now? Or you wanna look at it
Oh.
later? If you take a look at the old one, I
Sure.
compared the notes, everything's within .1 except for the 2 that went up 50%, 75% with the addition of the left turn.
okay. I apologize, I can't answer that directly right now. I try to have as much in my head as possible coming into these meetings, but that's stretching it a little bit.
Hey,
But
I know the feeling.
I would be happy to look at that and provide a written response which can be forwarded on to you, to provide clarification. Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we bludgeoned this to death. Let's move on to the next victim. Okay, I'll give you a status of the traffic study peer review. We did have some excitement at the end of last week about receiving the check for at the last hearing, we selected Tig and Bond to do the peer review, and we were waiting for the check, the $8,100 check to be received. And even without having the check, I had the selectmen, they executed the contract. The contract has been signed. I haven't turned Tig and Bond on to do anything because of all the changes, like the stuff that I put in the proposal was obsolete. It got changed by new plans and a new traffic studies. So I will be ready to do that. I'll ask, based on what's happened, is this your final, or best final report? I don't know if you had any, no, okay. So I will turn on Tig and Bond, hopefully, and I will cite the new site plans, and I will cite the new study, and along with the additional questions that I had that were part of the original proposal, I'll make sure that, I'll ask him, I think it was in there already, to assess the safety. I just sense I'll get the same kind of answer that you gave, because the nature of the beast. So that is the status of the traffic study. Okay.
So at our next meeting, we'll have that response.
I'm thinking that when we schedule, Tig and Bond in their proposal said they need 3 or 4 weeks. to accomplish the study. I don't think we changed the scope of the study. We switched some documents around, maybe we threw another question in there. So I would schedule our next hearing to hopefully have the Tig and Bond peer review, and we can go at it. So how about that? We got through that agenda item just like that. Next item is to provide a status of the groundwater investigation. Now, at the last hearing, I've talked to Bucky, and he says he's done his portion. I mean, there were 3 letters that he generated commenting on the stormwater and drainage, and I thought there were 3 responses. Maybe there were only 2 responses from our LA. So he said he had no further comment or questions on that. It was talked about at the last hearing that, and it was actually going to be talked about at another one that wasn't, that ended up being continued due to another issue. I've received some documentation, which I've shared with the applicant, just questioning, having some questions about what is the actual, questioning the ground, the ground levels that are in the report. I mean, if those reports are correct, it shows that there's like 5 feet between the groundwater level and the filtration system, which is plenty. I mean, it's like, I think the requirement is 2 feet between that. But they cited some compelling evidence that, quite frankly, I can't figure out. So I will be asking the peer reviewer to investigate those claims or those questions, and with the sole purpose of confirming what the groundwater is there, what groundwater level is there. But
Is that the professor's letter?
That's a professor's letter, and also there is some state analysis apparently that the state is looking at groundwater across the whole state, and one of the areas that they chose to choose as a study is Sunderland. So apparently they might have some information that's clearly over my head to be going there to say. I mean, I don't care if they say that ground levels are trending upwards and it's projected. That's not the question. I want to know. I just want a validation of the groundwater, and that's it. And
So just to clarify, if I could, so you had mentioned that you want a peer reviewer. Is this Mr. Sparkle?
well, yes,
So he's already addressed it in his letter.
yes, he did. He did not address. He addressed it in the report. I think he took for granted. He didn't go and question data that's loaded with data too.
Just so we're clear, for the record, Mr. Sparkle absolutely reviewed the soil evaluations.
Mm-hmm.
So just so you're clear, also, it's helpful to understand, because it's not something you deal with every day. We do, right? So when we design a drainage system, we have to have a soil evaluator who's registered in the state of Massachusetts, typically a PE, sometimes a surveyor, or a soil scientist meeting certain criteria, not hydrologist, okay? Looking at the actual ground, they dig what's called deep holes. These deep holes are literally what they sound like. They're deep holes dug with an excavator. They look at the redoxomorphic features within the soil, okay? So you look at the soil profile, and they determine, not based on time of year, like the hydrologist said, not based on all these other little details that they were talking about. So no, let me finish. So they do this analysis, and this analysis is done so that they can determine the highest point groundwater would ever come, regardless of what time of year it is. Those markings that are in the soil are from the water going up and down and oxidized. So yes, no, yes, the water moves. Yes, so that is what they do. The soil evaluator is who does that, okay? So Mr. Sparkle at least is listed as a PE. I'm not sure if he's a soil evaluator. He may be, likely is. I would expect he probably is as well, but it's not listed on his credentials here. That said, we have 4 certified soil evaluators within our office that do this work. They all have extensive experience. They all know how to do this. A few of them are PEs, some of them are soil scientists. So long story short, this work has been done and met the standard, meets the standards, and they're certified. So they are the responsible party to determine this. And if something ever was wrong, they're on the hook, we're on the hook, our liability insurance, etc. So I'm not sure what you're expecting you can tell someone when we've done physical soil evaluations with test pits. There's nothing that someone can look at to you can't look at somebody and say, oh, look at the mapping data that UMass is theoretically coming up with in an academic exercise that's being done by the university. It's just not not applicable
It's
to.
not just them, sir. There is some state work that's being done and been done, and quite frankly, it's not up. I can't tell heads or tails of it what it means.
Okay, so what I'm saying is not applicable. So what you're asking is not applicable. It's other than what's been addressed but Mr. Sparkle already addressed it. And literally, I'm going to read it to you again, dated March 25th, 2026. All of my comments have been adequately addressed. And you remember those letters that also addressed soil evaluation, depth of groundwater.
It's within the chairman of the ZBA to request additional information. And I thought I'm focused on really the groundwater level. Maybe it was there, but I didn't see it. I saw that 6 holes had water and they had various levels. I didn't see anywhere data that says where is the soil analysis to show that the water rose another foot higher. It shows evidence that I don't see it in there.
Did you read the test pits in the stormware report that was provided?
I'm not qualified to. I'm not qualified.
Exactly. So
that's why
Mr. Sparkle is. That's why we have a peer review, and he's done that. So can I just ask you the nature of what is the process that you're going to request the peer review, who's also already reviewed this? What is the process that you're asking the peer reviewer to do? What in your mind will give you that answer that you're talking about? Is this an analysis?
I want him to investigate the comments from the professor, who's a registered hydrologist and all that.
Doesn't know soil analysis.
And I also want him to look into, is there something with the data that the state is currently doing? That's all. I'm not looking, the focus is going to be very narrow. I'm not asking him to go back and re-review everything else.
So I would ask your attorney, who is online, I can't ask you to do anything, but the suggestion is obviously, this is not, so if you said, I want to know how many green roofs there are in
That's not what I'm asking.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is it has nothing to do with specifically what we're talking about. These analyses that this professor talked about do not fall under.
I'm not saying it does, but
okay. But you're saying you want to charge my client to pay for a peer review for what purpose? When we know it's not applicable, and we can prove to you that it's not applicable. And you should ask
fine to have him investigate this whole thing about validating that the ground level numbers and data are correct. He did not look to see, I don't know if you said test pit 6 had 72 inches.
It's all in the logs. That's what he's trying to tell you. You've had that information, and Bucky could look at it. And let's be frank, I've been dealing with septic systems since the 1970s and 80s. That professor's complete ignorance of soil analysis leaped it. No, you need to hear this, sir. He is an orthopedist practicing cardiology, okay? What he did at the bottom of page 1 is he tried to equate observed groundwater level on a particular date, and he's saying, I don't know if this is seasonal high groundwater. That's what the soil analysis does. He's a hydrologist. He obviously, from his letter, is completely ignorant that soil analysis, which was done, determined the seasonal high groundwater level. I haven't seen anybody try to do what he did since the 1990s when Title V brought in soil analysis to determine seasonal high groundwater level. That was the last time under the 78 Title V that people did what he tried to do here and say there's a problem with groundwater because what you look at on a particular day. Before 95, when soil analysis came in, sure, we dig the hole on a dry August, look in the hole, pay no attention to soil analysis, and so we don't know the seasonal high groundwater. That is the reason in the 90s, Title V brought in soil analysis. That's the reason, what Rob is trying to explain to you, we now have certified soil evaluators who determine high groundwater level regardless of when it's done, because the soil doesn't change. It can last for centuries. That's what, and so that professor has simply fed you, obviously, an opinionated, worthless pile of bunk, to be brutally frank. He's an orthopedist practicing cardiology. He may be a fine professor of hydrology. He doesn't have a clue about soil analysis. And he's trying to mislead you.
That's not the only thing I'm relying on.
And the other letter you gave us is from a layperson who's trying to second guess the engineer and has no expertise and no basis. Forgive the edge in our voice, but for example, when somebody tries to tell me, oh, Michael, the statutes, the cases, the regulations you've cited, you don't know what you're talking about, the law, you're wrong on the law, and I say, where's your legal authority? And they say, I don't have to accept it from you. That's in effect what's happening.
You made your point, Mike.
Thank you.
Michael DiOrtenzio, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay. I just want to make sure you weren't sleeping on us.
Oh, he's been alert. I've been watching him. No, he's been paying very close attention.
That's very good. Is it not within our authority to ask the peer reviewer to take a deeper dive into something that it is related to the whole stormwater and drainage issues? I mean, he's raised and the other person happens to be on the Conservation Commission. These aren't. But is it not within our authority to ask the peer reviewer to take a deeper dive into this question? I mean, I'm not asking him to open up the entire thing, open up the, I specifically want a little deeper dive, just to, hey, maybe he'll come back and he'll confirm all that data is correct.
So just to clarify.
I have reasonable questions that I'm not qualified to answer.
You're right.
I know I am, and I'm admitting it. That's why I would like the peer reviewer to take and
He did.
to go into this. So,
He did, sir.
Well,
So the peer.
you've already
He
said
did.
that.
And he did.
Jen's the chairman of the Conservation Commission.
On the Conservation Commission, my memory of Mr. Sparkle's review is that he was requesting another soil test pit in the location where the stormwater system would be. And I think the professor's input may or may not be new information to help determine that, because there's variability within this site on the hydrologic sources.
Yeah, and I think
Where the test pits were done weren't where the stormwater system was.
Groundwater is the thing you have to be most careful about of all of this.
It's an open discussion.
No, I'm asking for input from the Conservation Commission because it's germane, so.
Conservation Commission has no jurisdiction over this site.
This happens to be in the watershed district.
It's
and
not conservation jurisdiction.
it-
He's right. They have no authority here.
I'm just taking input from them, and, Michael, back to my original question.
And being chair of the Concom does not make her an expert, with all due respect to her
Well, she's a
public
better
spirited
expert than I
service.
am.
She's not an expert.
And she's raising questions.
That have no basis.
So,
You don't know.
So, Mr. Chair, two thoughts. So the first is, I think it's appropriate for you to take feedback from members of the public. I don't understand the speaker is speaking in the capacity as chair of the Conservation Commission. I understand that you have recognized her as a member of the public to offer her thoughts, and you are entitled to do that under the open meeting law at any time as the chair of the board. Second, under Chapter 44, Section 53G, which is what governs the hiring of outside consultants, you have promulgated rules and regulations, which are fairly broad. They allow you to employ the services, and I'm reading from your rules, of an outside consultant to obtain technical advice unavailable from municipal employees to review and advise the board on the applicant's proposed project. So to the extent you're looking for technical advice that's unavailable from town employees, that's the key limitation in your rules and regulations, then I believe you can proceed with additional peer review. I don't know whether you need to make a decision on that right now. It may be helpful to have other members of the board offer thoughts, or to give people some time to reflect on the back and forth that has occurred with the applicant and with you. And we can continue this at the next hearing, because the peer review for the traffic is going to get underway very quickly, and we'll have that to discuss at the next hearing anyway.
I will point out I can't remember the exact number of what the peer reviewer's quote was. He's submitted all his invoices, so he's done with the peer review as far as originally outlined. And there's money left over in that account. I would say, Michael, I was prepared to discuss this issue at the last hearing. Or not, a couple of hearings ago. It's tough to keep track. When we were in the middle of back and forth between the peer reviewer and the letters were flying, and the applicant had requested a continuance at that time. So I mean, we were ready to push or probe this issue back then, and it just got delayed to now. I understand the traffic study going on, the peer review going on. I don't know why we couldn't do that concurrently, and, you know, that'd be a subject of another hearing perhaps when the results come in. But is it within my purview? I mean, I don't see anything that's gonna be gained by pushing it off for another hearing.
In my opinion, Mr. Chair, it's within the board's purview, pursuant to your rules and regulations, to, as I say, obtain technical advice when that advice is not available for town employees. And given the specialized nature of this, I'm not aware of a town employee in Sunderland who possesses these qualifications. And so it is within the board's discretion whether to seek that advice.
So, Mr. Chairman, I understand the statute, and I appreciate your attorney. He seems like a very good one. And doing a nice job. The soil evaluation is done by a soil evaluator. So first of all, if you're going to ask for a peer review of the soil evaluations, which it sounds like you're doing, we should make sure that first of all, Bucky Sparkle is a soil evaluator, okay? That would be my first recommendation, because that will give you the answer with another registered certified soil evaluator in the state of Massachusetts. So we'll double check. I think he probably is, but we should double check.
I suspect he is. I
It's
don't
just,
know that.
usually they list PE and SE, so it would just be, we want to confirm that, right, for your own
Okay.
understanding.
Fair enough.
Then also, your Board of Health witnesses percolation tests. Now, this is not a percolation test, this is a deep hole. They use Rawls rates for the soil rates and everything else, right? But that could be witnessed, but also by the Board of Health, should you ask. I know that in the town of South Hadley, the Board of Health agent wants to witness all test pits, regardless of whether they're associated with Title V. So we have done that for the town of South Hadley. So what I was saying and trying to say to you is that reviewing reports of hydrogeologists is not applicable. What is applicable and is suggested in the letter of your peer reviewer.
What date?
Sorry, the latest letter of March 25th,
I think that's the last
2026, which I believe there are recommendations for possible conditions. So Mr. Sparkle suggested, one of the items that he suggested was just that, a couple additional test holes to be done. So we should confirm with Mr. Sparkle that he is, and by the way, we agree with all of the comments from Mr. Sparkle.
That is a suggested condition if.
Right, but we can do it ahead of time. Let's do it. So it would require us to do the soil, because so just so understand. So we need to have an excavator, right? So we can hire, my client can hire an excavator. We can do a soil evaluation with either Mr. Sparkle or your soil evaluator witnessing and the Board of Health. That would, in my opinion, be applicable and appropriate. That's what I was trying to get to in trying to see if that's what you're saying, that, and I agree with your attorney, that it obviously is in your purview and it would be applicable. The other, general studies of the area and everything, that's not, it needs to be site-specific and applicable based on regulatory requirements.
And just hopefully so the attorneys can agree, my recollection of chapter 4453G is qualification of the expert is the one ground upon which we can challenge the expert. And so I think what we're saying here today, and dive in, Rob, if I haven't got this right, the expert must be a certified by the state soil evaluator. And that's who needs to examine, that's what you want to do, both what the hydrogeologist has said and what the Concom chair has said and what anybody else has said about groundwater level. Is that? Yeah, okay. So that's, I believe, what we're agreeing to.
So we will voluntarily provide our soil evaluator and the digging. If you would like to hire your soil evaluator to witness that and confirm that they agree with our testing, because it doesn't make sense for the town to have to go out at prevailing wage rates to hire an excavator.
And what he's saying is, the soil evaluator needs to be there to look into the hole, to evaluate the soil conditions, and in other words, we're saying, we don't want you to rely on what our soil evaluator reports on a log of the test pit. We want your soil evaluator to be there along with our soil evaluator, so they can both look at what the dirt actually shows as to where the seasonal high groundwater level is. Do I understand?
Correct,
Yeah.
So, what is, I want to make sure I got it right.
Yep.
Certified,
Soil evaluator, and there's a list. So if it's not Mr. Sparkle, it might very well like.
No.
On his website, it lists registered soil evaluator under his professional qualifications.
Thank you.
Yeah.
okay.
Perfect. So
Thank you.
he's the guy, if you want him to be.
So you'd be willing to.
Absolutely.
Do,
100%.
in the presence of.
Absolutely, 100%. And just so you know, these soil evaluators are typically witnessed by Board of Health agents. There's, these guys, this is science.
It's clearly out of my
not guessing.
electronic engineering.
Yeah, so we're happy to do that.
And
And it was suggested by Mr. Sparkle. So that's good.
Yeah, I know he suggested it. I thought it was suggested as a condition that it would be done before construction.
I think that's what he was, but we're
Yeah,
happy to
but
do it.
I-
We're happy to do
Why
it.
not do it now?
I'd like to do it now, because if the groundwater is an issue, that changes things. If not, done. I mean,
And I would just respectfully like to say this, if you haven't picked up on our approach, we are, for two reasons, trying to provide you with every bit of information possible. One, because it sounds like this is not popular to you specifically. So if it is not, we want to make sure.
Popular.
You seem to have a lot of resistance to this. So what we're trying to do is answer every question you have, so that if you decide to deny us, we have scientific and engineering data that supports our application.
I will say that I am bending backwards, and I think I said this at one of the earlier hearings, and I got some kudos from your attorney. I'm bending backwards to make sure you get a fair hearing. I mean, I put a, I mean, so to.
I didn't say fair, I
think-
meant popular.
So-
Sorry, that maybe I clarified.
But, I mean, to say that, you know, my dislike of this is driving, no, I'm trying to be letter of the law.
We hope that's the
I'm
case.
giving you a fair hearing that hopefully results in a fair outcome.
And the
but,
peer review process will help that. Thank you.
And that's what John Adams wrote. I think it's Article 29 of the Declaration of Rights in the State Constitution.
Okay, too late for that.
Yeah, past time. Past time, so.
Okay, I did have a few people that want, I mean, it's,
No, I respectfully decline tonight, it's way too late.
Yeah, thank you.
I can't get through an entire agenda, but, okay, so I guess we'll blow the whistle there. I wanted to say that I think I stated at past hearings, I've gotten a lot of input from the public in terms of stuff coming in the mailbox and stuff. I want to be able to introduce that for the board's consideration. We will put it as an agenda item at our next hearing.
Maybe put it at the beginning next time, since it fell off tonight, would be a suggestion.
Well, I think I understand the importance of it, and our time is valuable too. I didn't plan to have things go as long as they will. We'll try to, at the next hearing, we'll put it on there. I mean, I'm not.
We admire your stamina.
What's that?
We admire your stamina.
Well, I got more to go. I'm drinking Coke. I could go for another few hours, but I respect that other people have families.
That's my drink too. The sugar and caffeine will keep us going. You bet.
This is the sugar-free stuff.
Oh,
I don't need the sugar.
the caffeine.
Yes, sir.
I just have a couple of quick questions.
Identify who we are, please.
Yep, Kevin Molongoski, 418 Russell Street.
Okay, you're one of the people that has a letter, but not on tonight's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just quick pertaining to the safety discussion. A question for the gentleman from Bowman. I was just curious, so the historical crash data, so it looks like it goes back 5 years to 2018. Is there any type of assessment or quantification for the effect of COVID on the 3 years of test data? Just curious if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, so we look at pre and post COVID data. And so
So it's taken into account somewhere?
it's in there. The COVID data is what it is.
But do you make adjustments for it, or how?
We don't change.
You don't fudge the data?
We don't change what the data is, but we do recognize that 2020 is a different year.
Yeah, you noticed.
But also we want to look at before and after, because what's most relevant usually is the newest data. And so that's why we added that new year that was readily available when it came out. But we have both. So we just want to get the full picture, what's happened historically, but also what's happening most recently. But we don't change any of the data.
I will say that at least I'm grappling with the whole safety issue, and it's always nice when you can quantify things, because you can't argue with the numbers, but.
The other comment I was just going to add was I was just going to, and this isn't to anyone in particular, but just to kind of bring about a general event that happened regarding Mass DOT within recent memory. I just would like to remind everyone that engineering principles only go so far, and this is coming from a fellow engineer. I don't know if everyone remembers, back in 2021, Mass DOT had installed the raised granite islands on Route 5 just across the river, and determined that they were a safety issue and hence removed them at the cost of $271,000 to taxpayers. So I just wanted to make them note of that.
Yeah.
That's all.
The town has had issues, aside from you, with DOT, with that stretch of road, and it's.
I think what we witnessed here tonight.
Sir, what's your name?
My name is Michael Klein.
Oh.
I think what we've witnessed here tonight is right out of the corporate playbook. For these guys to come in here and try to discount you and
I'd say
talk down the people you want to consult with, because you don't know anything. This is straight out of the corporate playbook. And I think you've done a good job tonight, but I don't think you have to take any guff off of these guys.
Well, sir, I understand, and I'll tell you, you don't have to worry about we're not being intimidated as much as, you know.
We don't want you to be intimidated.
And I'm not, we're not, and I've been, I mean, I have a very experienced board here. I've been on the board since '88. And I've had, we've gone, in that time, we've gone through 3 comprehensive permits, and so this one is a bear, I'll tell you. And there's a lot of data that, I mean, our first hearing was, I think, what, in February of '25? I mean, and I don't know, I don't see the end in sight yet. I mean, if we get done by the end of the year, that, you know, but it'll take as long as it takes. So
You're one of the toughest I've seen in my 40 years of doing this, I can tell you that.
Well,
You are putting us through a bigger ringer than I've seen in a long time, and I acknowledge that's your job.
Well,
I've seen worse.
Oh, wow, you're challenging me?
Are we
little bit.
looking at 4 weeks from now or 5 weeks from now?
I would say, let's talk about, you know, by the time I get the peer reviewer going, let's go something starting 5 weeks. So today is the 29th, 1, 2, 3, 4, that actually puts us into the first week of June. Well, Memorial Day is the 24th, or the 25th, so you probably don't want to go that week.
I'm gone that week.
So you're gone that week?
June
The
3rd.
3rd?
Third, a Wednesday?
It is a
Today is
Thursday, it's a Wednesday.
Thursday, anybody?
4th.
This was an anomaly, you know, this Wednesday.
Well,
I just want to get back to the Thursday.
June 4th then?
I'm hearing that the 4th is no good for June.
Well, it's
Well, I'm gonna throw you under the bus. Come on, let me throw somebody under the bus.
okay?
And so,
11th?
So, how about 3rd? Is,
Jim doesn't like
That's okay, we'll
Wednesdays.
go.
Michael, are you available on June 3rd?
The 3rd works, Mr. Chair.
June 3rd, going once,
There you go.
going twice?
So,
7 PM as usual?
Well, I mean, Stuart, you're yours. Can we start earlier so that would be
No.
off like?
Oh, we got volleyball.
We got
I
what?
gotta play a game of volleyball before it comes.
What a bunch of prima donnas out there.
June 3rd, 7 PM?
Okay, it's set.
June 3rd, okay.
Wednesday, June 3rd at 7 o'clock, we will continue, and maybe we'll get to, I mean, this is a hairy one, so I'm hoping that we can get to the public comments, because I
Yeah.
got some good ones.
It'd probably be
Can I
good
ask
time.
your seriousness about going to 20 hearings?
My seriousness about
Your opening comment tonight was this is our 12th, and you expect to go to 20.
I was just, I don't know.
Thank you.
I mean, almost at every hearing, we've had some level of public comment, and I got some complaints that it wasn't enough, so I tried to actually put it down on the agenda. I mean,
well,
People can put their comments in writing too.
well, they have, and that's what I've got.
And that helps a lot, because the written comments, we don't have to worry about, we got it right, did we understand it? You know, you all get it, you hand it
In
to
all
us.
honesty, I'll tell you what the ground rules I was gonna have for this was, shall we close the hearing?
Yeah.
The hearing is closed and continued to June 3rd.